Beautiful people, I'm so glad you're here, and I'm glad that you're giving me your ear. I want to tell you something. It's on my heart to tell you something because I want us to win, all of us. Whether you are progressive, a liberal, or conservative, I think we all can win, and I want us all to win. So, the last several weeks, we've been wanting Joe Biden to withdraw from the presidential race. I've been a fierce advocate of Joe Biden because I believe still that if he were in the race, he could win it. But he couldn't win this race alone. And there was a fragmentation happening within the progressive cohort, and that was making it very difficult for him. But what I loved about Joe Biden, even though we talked a lot about his age, what I think happens with Joe Biden, or what is demonstrated with him, is the idea that his age has given him wisdom, a type of sobriety, the ability to discern, to pay attention, to listen, and even to learn. And Joe Biden has demonstrated this capacity over time. He's been the most prominent and successful president in the last several years. His vice president even says that he's had more success in his first term than many presidents had in 2 terms. What I think is notable and certainly mentionable about Joe Biden is that his vice president, who is now the Democratic nominee for president, sings his praises, and you can see in her eyes and you can hear in her voice the affection she has for him. There's something quite real there that's contrasted with what you see on the part of the Republicans. There's a smile happening now. It's a glee. It's a freedom. That freedom was there even with Joe Biden, but what you see happening even in the enthusiasm, you see something happening that you don't always see happening with the Republicans. When they talk about their candidate, they seldom ever do it with a smile. Usually there's a grimace, a scowl on their face. They're angry. They're upset. They're not in love with their leader. They are afraid of their leader. And what I know about fear is anytime we choose something based on fear, the only way we win is through oppression. And I don't want us to be that way anymore. Kamala Harris is easily qualified. She's unquestionably qualified. She's emphatically qualified. She certainly is unequivocally qualified, especially when you look at her opponent. And I want us to see this and know this. I don't want us to fall into the same traps we did with President Biden, where we focused so much on his age and we focused on the things that allowed us to disregard the goodness, the nobility, the actual character that he models and that he modeled. People smile when they talk about him. People smile when they talk about what he's done. That's not what happens with Trump. You do see a type of gloating, a type of conceit, a type of arrogance. That's not what we need in this nation. But to do that, Democrats and progressives, we still have to stick together. They're going to come for Kamala. They're going to come for the fact that she's a woman. They're going to come for her because she's black, because she's Asian American. They're going to find a whole list of things to talk about that are specifically aimed at getting you distracted. They're aimed at getting you to talk about these things when you're having dinner with your friends, when you're having drinks with your friends, or when you're just sitting around with your family. These are serious times. I want to help us learn to notice the tactics, the straw man, and the ad hominem. These are vices and maneuvers that people use in arguments to get you distracted, to get you focused on something that doesn't even matter. The last thing we overcame was this conversation about Joe Biden's age. Yet, he was smart enough and savvy enough to withdraw. He was even smart and savvy enough to get one over or to get beyond all of the trappings and name his successor. He has his eye on the ball. He has his finger on the pulse. He still does. We just got distracted. Several years ago, something happened. In 2016, Hillary Clinton was running for president. She was a woman running for president, and that made it significant. I remember sitting when people were crying because they were disappointed that Trump won. And we were trying to figure out how in the world did it happen? How did Trump win this election? Well, One of the things that happened is that Democrats have this thing I call our Achilles heel. It's the nobility complex. We like to believe that we tell the truth all the time, and we like for the people out there to believe that we have a certain modicum of decency, and we do. But when you're decent for real, you don't have to fake it. And decency does not demand that we lie, and decency does not demand that we don't hold people to a standard. Decency does not demand that we can't call a spade, or ace, an ace. And decency certainly does not demand that we ever believe we can squeeze blood from a turnip. Now, why do I say that? Because you've seen a turnip and you've never seen blood from it. But for some reason, we still keep looking for blood from a turnip. Hillary Clinton said something in her campaign. She said, half of Donald Trump's supporters are a basket of deplorables. And we came for her. We thought she was rude and we thought she was mean. We didn't consider that she was prophetic. We didn't consider that she had a keen insight, and perhaps because she was a woman or because her name was Clinton and we already had biases against her. Something that prophetic or that insightful seemed to be hard to believe. Now that was a warning. 4 years later, or even within the 4 years later, we found out that she wasn't off at all. Not only were they deplorable, they acted deplorably. His whole presidency was baked into lies and misinformation. And so now we have another chance. It's a whole different climate. And I don't want you to get confused or upset that Kamala is black and that she's a woman. I don't want you to get lost in the misogyny principle or the patriarchy where you believe only a man can lead. We know easily men don't lead only, and often don't lead best. We're beyond the point of saying behind every good man there's a good woman. Right now where we are, we have to get on board. I'm excited about the enthusiasm that's happening with Kamala Harris. She's going to win this. But this is how she's going to win this. Remember when you were adamant that Joe Biden should withdraw from the race? Remember how passionate you got about it? Remember how much you wanted to argue and how long you wanted to argue about the fact that he was just way too old? Well, I need you to bring that same passion when they come for Vice President Harris, because they're going to say some weird things. They're going to say she's unqualified, and when they say, you say, oh, yes, she is. And when they say, I don't know if I should vote for her, you're going to say, oh, but you should. I am. I have no question in my mind. Don't give space to it. Don't even question whether you should speak authoritatively or persuasively. Just say it. As firmly as you know how to say your name, say it. And say it over and say it over until it gets into your bloodstream. Make it so repetitious that people believe it without even knowing they're believing it. Have you ever realized that more people are happy when Donald John Trump is not leading in the news cycle? I mean, more people are smiling today than they have in the last 8 years. Because that man is not leading the news cycle. And you know who you can thank for that? Joe Biden. He was smart enough to know how to take him out in one move. I wish we had the patience to watch him and to follow him, because I bet if we had waited just a little longer, his punch would have had a lot more impact. You thought that old man couldn't pack a punch? He fooled you. You were listening to the chatter. You were listening to the noise. You were listening to the attacks. You thought he was old. I had someone tell me just the other day that it was ageist, no doubt. But he said just the other day, I think certain people get to a certain age and they should just retire or move on. What age is that? Around 75. They really don't have much to offer the world anymore. And that almost sounds plausible. It's the age of retirement, past the age of retirement. Our grandparents and parents should be traveling the world, taking vacations, sitting on porches, taking picnics, all that stuff. Grazing the grandchildren. They shouldn't be trying to be president or run a company or run a casino. They should go sit down somewhere. And that might be true, except for the fact there are anomalies that happen. Joe Biden, 77 when he took office, 2 years past 75, has outperformed every modern president after 75 in one term, and he did it better and beyond what most presidents did in 2 terms. Yet, even just a few days ago, somebody made the case that he was too old to be effective. What I'm saying is we buy into these arguments even against the facts. Maybe we don't know this because we're not really listening for the facts and we're not reading for the facts. We want someone to tell us not what's true, but what's sensationally wonderful or amazing. I could tell you what you want to hear when perhaps it's the truth you fear. Our tickling ears and all that stuff that gets us messed up. Here we are. Kamala Harris, Vice President. Thank you, Joe Biden. Thank you that we got a smiling day in America. Thank you, Joe Biden. Thank you that Kamala Harris is smiling and brilliant. Oh, and she's strong. And she's quick. And she's going to prosecute this case. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's a brand new day. Every moment's a brand new opportunity for unlimited possibilities, and we always get to begin again. Just remember that. We always get to begin again. But I'm excited. If you want to learn how to get involved, if you want to learn how to not be fooled, stay tuned in to me. I'll be on my chair, and I'll be looking at you. Ask me a question, and I'll answer it.